It's feeling like a Plan B kind of day. Details to follow. Hey Star Wars fans, welcome back to another video from All Things Star Wars Considered. As always, I'm your host Doug, and in my intro I mentioned Plan B. Well, that's because this week's video was supposed to be the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. A lot of people last week were telling me they were getting theirs. As I was recording last week's video, it was due to hit any day. It was due to arrive on my doorstep any day. And sure enough, it did. Well, guess what? I started to do an unboxing today, and when I opened it, the box was destroyed. I kept filming, thinking that maybe I would be able to salvage it, and maybe I would keep some of the footage, and maybe I would just kind of, get through it. But as I was watching the footage back, you could just hear it in my voice how disappointed I was, and just how many mistakes I was making, just because I just couldn't get my head around how Hasbro would ship you an item that was $139.99. With tax, it ended up being close to $150. And this TIE Fighter looks like somebody jumped on it. I was going to say stepped on it, but I think stepped on it is being too kind. It looked like somebody jumped on this thing. It's crushed. I was going to open it just to see if it was worth salvaging, and I'm like, why would I accept a $140 damaged TIE Fighter? So I've emailed Hasbro. I've sent them a bunch of photos. We'll see what they say, but obviously they're going to have to take this thing back, because there's no way I'm keeping this thing for $148 in that condition. So as always, we had to do another Plan B, so we switched to a Plan B, and luckily the Landspeeder arrived today. So it does give me a very reputable, a very, normal Plan B. So when we return, we're going to be taking a look at the Vintage Collection Landspeeder. So stick around. That's coming up next. Okay, let's get into this now. Thankfully, I have a Plan B. And like I've said in the past, these things just keep arriving. Hasbro, I feel like they needed to have like some sort of quota, so to make their, third quarter, fourth quarter numbers, whatever this quarter particularly, where it lands in the scheme of their fiscal year. I feel like they needed to, have a good quarter, because I've been pre-ordering stuff all year long, and all of a sudden in September and October, everything arrived all at once. My Discover card is bleeding. But I guess in one respect, it does give me Plan Bs and Cs if, Plan A falls through the cracks, which obviously happened with that TIE Fighter, because, again, it looked like somebody was using it as a pogo stick. So, note to Hasbro, if you're hearing this, put a little bit better effort into, making sure that you're sending out a $140 TIE Fighter to, collectors, that doesn't look like, somebody was using it as a diving board. So I apologize. Oh, yeah, that just did squeak by. And let's get into this. Get rid of this knife. And, oh yeah, that looks cool. I like that. All right, so let me just kind of pop this out of the box. And let's get this out of the way. All righty. And here's that packing material. Now, they used the same packing material on the TIE Fighter, and when I unraveled it, it was all, the back of the box was destroyed. Front looked okay, but the back looked absolutely destroyed. So, sorry about that. Let's kind of fix this. Let's kind of fix my camera. Pop it up a little bit. There we go. Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay, so here you have it. The Star Wars Vintage Collection Landspeeder. And right off the bat, I'm looking at it. It looks okay. So we will make it through this unboxing, or this review, excuse me. So let's review the box first, like we normally do. Now we have the Star Wars logo in the center of the box. We have the double racetrack piping around the outer edge of the box. In the upper right-hand corner, we have the warning: choking hazard, small parts, not for children under 3 years. And of course, that goes hand in hand with 4+. Now, in the upper left-hand corner, we have the included Luke Skywalker Tatooine figure. And this is considered a deluxe figure because they gave us, let's see if I can bring him in quickly just to show you. They gave us this particular farm boy Luke. But they took it a step further, and they gave him a poncho. They gave him the floppy hat, the binoculars, a long rifle, and a couple of other accessories to go along with the figure. And that creates a deluxe figure situation. So that will be inside this box. Of course, we have this beautiful image on the front, and that is a throwback, 1, to Kenner, and 2, to the first vintage collection Landspeeder that they put out several years back and was a Target exclusive. Now, they recapturing the image from back in the Kenner days. And what they would do is they would put the toy with this real hot lighted type of backdrop, like these reds and oranges, real bright and vibrant. Of course, they put the Landspeeder in, on like a mock Tatooine backdrop. Of course, we have the 4 heroes: Luke, Ben, 3PO, and R2 on the Landspeeder. We have this sand trooper that has pulled the Landspeeder over. And I got to say, this image looks great. Of course, down in the lower right-hand corner, we have the Kenner logo. And then over here, it's, other action figures sold separately, subject to availability. You guys know the drill. Now, let's flip this box down. The top of the box has the Star Wars logo. Of course, we have the Luke and Leia Hildebrandt. We have a photo of Luke and the Landspeeder. Of course, in this particular photo, he's wearing the poncho. He's got the floppy hat. The rifle is kind of put on the side of the vehicle for safekeeping. And then in the second image over here, we just have Luke holding the rifle. And of course, he's wearing the same outfit. Now, let's kind of flip to, let's just go to the back of the box. We're going to get to the whole box, so it doesn't really matter. Now, the thing I like about the back of this box is that they used an alternate image. Now, normally you would get to the back of the box, you'd have the same image that was on the front of the box, but you'd have the Vintage Collection logo, the Disney logo, the Hasbro logo, blah, blah, blah. Change this to the foreign language, right? But what they've chosen to do is they've tried to give this a real modern flair, and I gotta say, I love it. Instead of showing that image of the Landspeeder with that bright red and orange backdrop, now they've created this Mos Eisley, Tatooine, dusty type of environment. They've stacked a bunch of sand troopers and stormtroopers around the Landspeeder, replicating the scene in which Luke and Ben are stopped by the sand troopers looking for R2 and 3PO. And of course, the only thing that saves their butt is the fact that Ben uses the Jedi mind trick. These aren't the droids you're looking for. And of course, the weak-minded fool sand troopers fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. These aren't the droids we're looking for. You can go about your business. So I love this image. It looks great. I'm very happy with how they took this photo, and I'm glad that they did something different for a change. And before we move on, that's pretty much just the same type of stuff that we're accustomed to seeing on the Vintage Collection packaging, subject to availability, the figures sold separately. Now, like the standard bottom of the box photo, it shows you the contents. So it's showing you that you get the Landspeeder, the Luke with the poncho, a lit lightsaber, an unlit lightsaber. You have some binoculars, you have the floppy hat, you have a rifle, and a couple other little accessories that will plug in on his belt. And of course, over here, you have the warning, choking hazard, and, all these foreign language stuff that doesn't really say much. So now let's get to the far end of the box. And this particular image shows the exposed turbo engines, because this front hood pops open. So that's really cool. That kind of pays homage to the original Kenner one, because the original Kenner one, you could kind of flip that open, use it for storage, and they had a nice little sticker in there to kind of show you what the engine detail looked like. Well, This is Hasbro. This is 2025, and we're not doing that anymore. So we actually have some engine parts there, all molded and sculpted, and they look great. Of course, we have some nice damage here. You're seeing different washes on the front nose of the Landspeeder. So we got some missing paint, some flecked off paint and metal, and it just looks great. Can't wait to get this open and check it out. Of course, you have the Star Wars logo, the Luke and Leia Hildebrandt. And as we start to wrap things up, we're going to take a look at the other end of the box. And what this is showing you is the cockpit area. And we have this really nice like steering wheel that the figures can grasp. It looks really cool. Some people said that this thing is a little bit tight and that the figures look kind of crammed in there. But if you really look at the film stills or watch the movie, they are crammed in there. So I think the scaling on this is pretty accurate. Even though they will seem crammed in there, they actually were. And of course, you have this nice little gear shift. We have some control panels there. And it doesn't look to be like stickers. It looks like molded, little fiddly bits that are actually attached to the actual console. And just looks great. And what they've done here, and we'll get to it when we get into this ship, is they've created a spot for C-3PO to sit. Because if you remember the old Landspeeder, he would actually just fall off the back because there was no place to put his feet. But now, the way they've designed this, 3PO can actually get his kind of legs behind there so that he doesn't look like he's ready to kind of just, do a header off the back of the Landspeeder. So I think we've spent enough time on the outside of this box. Let's crack it open and let's take a look at this ship and the figure as well. Okay, now let's get into this. Obviously, you know the drill. I've already removed the tape, and I'm going to try to open this up as carefully as I can without damaging that little flap, and I think I was able to do it. So let's see. I'm going to be smart because the action figure is on this side, so let's slide this out. I've done enough of these unboxings that I'm starting to figure this all out. And first things first, let's get to the action figure. And it seems like it's protected. Now, this is the deluxe Luke Skywalker Tatooine figure, not to be confused with the general release Luke Skywalker action figure. Let's actually pop him in the back, just in case we need to refer to him for anything. Now, they've changed the image, obviously. It's a deluxe card back. You can see that it's wider. So if you put this side by side, you can see how much wider that card back is. Probably about 1.25 inches wider. And that's my old carpentry days. Back in the day, you wouldn't say 1.25 inches. You'd just say 1 inch, 1.5 inches. But my carpentry days, I'm going to go 1.25 inches. Actually, it was like probably about 1 3/16 inches strong. But, okay, so the thing about this Luke figure as opposed to that Luke figure, it's pretty much the same figure. They've given him a cloth skirt here now, as opposed to the original one, which is a hard plastic. This will allow him to sit in the Landspeeder a little bit better. He's going to come with that long rifle. That rifle has been released in the past with previous Landspeeder releases. He comes with a hat. Again, I'm not, until I open it, I ain't going to know, but here's that hat. It's come in previous releases. I'm assuming it's the same sculpt. He's got some binoculars. He's got the droid collar, which he came with that. He's got the lightsaber, which will plug in on his belt. He's got the lit lightsaber, and yeah, I believe that's it. Oh, and he also has the poncho in the back. That's been released in the past. And like we talked about in a previous video, I actually took that poncho and put it on Figrin Dan to create Lyran Card. So now let's get into the action figure. So, of course, you have the Star Wars logo, the Luke and Leia Hildebrandt, the double racetrack piping around the outer edge of the card. They've taken the choking hazard, put it at the bottom. We've talked about this in the past, so as not to impede upon this Luke and Leia Hildebrandt. Your 4+ is up there, and the Kenner logo. Of course, we have this new image of Luke standing outside his Landspeeder. I'm not quite sure. That probably is when he first gets home and discovers that his aunt and uncle have been slain by the stormtroopers. Now let's flip to the back. Now this is 344A, and if you recall, The Luke Skywalker figure was $344. So now the A is for the alternate card back. So it says Luke Skywalker Tatooine. Luke Skywalker owned a battered but speedy X-34 Landspeeder, racing the sand-packed and sun-faded craft across the desert between the Laz homestead and outposts such as Toshi Station and Anchorhead. That word just didn't want to come out. Of course, we have Luke. And of course, the smart thing to do is actually to show him the accessories that came in this particular release. And that's, of course, he's got the binoculars in his hand. He's wearing the poncho and he's got the sun hat. So that looks great. So let's add that to the backdrop. I think we've spent enough time on this action figure. And now let's get into this. Obviously, the Luke Skywalker Tatooine figure is in the orange name pill and the orange backer. But enough with that. So let's get into this. Let's see. Oh, okay, that is easily removable. And let's just pull this Landspeeder right out of here. And I want to do that without... Let's see. I think we're going to have to do a little assembly here because where's that other engine? It's got to be in here somewhere. We will find it. Okay. Is it in the... Oh, it is in the other part of the packing material. Here it is. So let's kind of pull that out. I'm sure this, from what I recall, this should just snap right into place. So let's get that out of here. Let's kind of just line this up and into place it goes. So yes, the assembly is complete. Let's add him to the backdrop. Okay, so let's take a look at this Landspeeder. And looking at it in person, this thing looks great. Of course, you have the sleek windshield, which kind of takes up a good chunk of the cockpit area. So when Luke and Ben are actually sitting in there, they will be kind of mostly covered by that windshield. Let's see, we have, an exposed turbo engine there. We still have the wheels, and I'm assuming that this is like the original Kenner Landspeeder, in which they retract, in which they lower. Yeah, I don't want to break it. So, yep. So they snap into place. It's still kind of got like a little bit of a bounce to it, which is cool. Rolls along. Nice. Let's take a look at this cockpit area. We talked about this. And you got the steering wheel. Oh, and the steering wheel does turn, so there's some mobility there. Of course, you know about the lever, which lowers and raises. Oh, yeah, lowers, extends, and raises the wheels. So you have this really nice detailed control panel like we discussed when we were talking about the box. Now, I think, let's see, I got to try to figure this out. Okay, so this just lifts, which is nice. And you see the exposed engines. I'm not quite sure. I'm in my light, which I like to do. So, yeah, that looks really detailed. And you've got some nice damage here. You got like this dent on the front with all this exposed metal, all this flecked off paint around the nose of the Landspeeder. You have this really cool silver detail, which is a little bit oxidized. So that they really took some pains to make sure that they were able to get a lot of weathering and washes on this Landspeeder. So I like this flip up, and then it clicks into place. I don't know, is this supposed to do anything? Or is this just turn? I don't know. But, well, let's see. Nope, it doesn't. It just spins in place. Okay, now, let's talk about this area here. This area behind the seat is to allow for C-3PO to be able to sit. Because now that they have the C-3PO that bends at the knees, you can actually now sit him and put his feet down behind the seat. So that's a really nice feature. The paint on this looks pretty good. We have all these weathering, like, that would occur while the ship is in motion, like, you know, that, like, bug detail. You know, you're driving down the highway and you're hitting things and bugs. And so that's kind of a cool looking detail. So I think we've spent enough time on this ship because there's not a lot to it. So let's get this thing in a display and let's see how it looks when you put some action figures in it. So stick around for that. Okay, and here's the finished shot. Now, I tried to bring this C-3PO in. Didn't really sit too well in the Landspeeder, so I went with the Ewok Celebration C-3PO. He seemed to fit a little bit better. He's vac metal. I'd like to see him a little bit dirtier, so maybe I will, dirty him up to add him to the scene, but he worked great. And they're all crammed in there, like I said, but it works. So the Landspeeder's been pulled over. We all know the drill, How long have you had these droids? About 3 or 4 seasons. They're up for sale if you want them. Let me see your identification. You don't need to see his identification. We don't need to see his identification. These aren't the droids you're looking for. These aren't the droids we're looking for. He can go about his business. You can go about your business. Move along, move along, move along. Yes, you guys have heard me do that little exchange in the past. So, no, but this Landspeeder looks great in this little scene. So, as you can see, I've used the Streets of Mos Eisley playset as a backdrop. Of course, I've got the front of the cantina. We've got a dewback that's kind of tethered. We have a sand trooper that's kind of riding him, getting ready to dismount so he can go into the cantina and have a drink. But of course, this all unfolds as we take a look at this Landspeeder. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, there's the Ubrikian 9000 and an R5 D4 unit rolling past. So again, I hope you enjoyed this display. We'll see you on the next one. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the Vintage Collection Landspeeder as part of Plan B. And, before we even go any further, let me just say Happy Halloween to all my subscribers. Obviously, you can see I'm wearing the Freddy Krueger shirt. That's because today is Halloween as I'm shooting this. I didn't remove Ace from my backdrop. I felt it was respectful to keep him around for one more week. That was a big loss, as I talked about last week. And I came in today and Ace was still sitting there, and I went, you know what, he's going to stay for another week. So I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at the Vintage Collection Landspeeder and taking a look at the display that I put together to go along with that Landspeeder. I think it came out great. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But we are going to wrap things up for this week's segment. Before we do so, though, I'd like to thank everybody for the continued support of the channel. Also want to remind you that if you haven't done so, I ask you to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any valuable Star Wars content. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. You know that helps the channel as well. If you have a question, a comment, some input, maybe you want to weigh in on the Landspeeder, please leave it in the comment section, and you know I'll get back to each and every one of you. Want to remind everybody to have a great day. Thank everybody for watching, and we will see you on the next video. And as always, may the Force be with you. And one final thing. Maybe I should turn around, maybe I should stop, maybe I should turn around, speeding back to my baby. And I don't mean maybe. Rest in peace, Ace. Have a great day, everybody, and happy Halloween.
There's an old man living cold and poor. Feels like there's nothing to give. There's a young boy crossing by his path, reflected how he lived.